Hey, yo, or is it YOMO? Okay, bad joke, but welcome back to YOMO Show, a year of much good learning. Today, Chris will tell you why you will never win an argument. So we are on lessons 152 today.
So this is a good book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I think everybody probably has heard of this book or knows of this book or
Mhm.
has read this book. This is like one of those classic books a lot of people know. I mean, it's probably one of the most famous books in the world. So what's it about? It was a book published by Dale Carnegie in 1936. And Carnegie had been conducting business education courses in New York. And this was his courses basically condensed into a book about how to win friends and influence people. So it's sold a shitload of books, and he helped teach a lot of people about exactly what the title says, how to better understand people, listen with empathy, connect with them, and then influence them to change. So it's an interesting book. I like it a lot. I think it reminds me of, we've talked about this many times. It's like if 48 Laws of Power were, like a little devil on one shoulder, and How to Win Friends and Influence People would be the little devil on this shoulder, or the little angel on this shoulder. It's like the same concepts of how to, either the 48 Laws of Power is like how to hate people and only think about power and use influence for bad intentions and to gain power. And then this one's like how to use influence to win friends and how to use influence to be a better human being. So it's the same kind of principles, but with a different lens on it, right? So have you read this book? I forget.
I had it a long time ago, probably like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Um,
What
I,
what'd you think?
I actually had an audio book back then, so I
Nice.
think it was good. Like I said, you compare it to the 48 power of laws, like the devil versus the angel, right? But it gives you the same result. It's just different approach, but it gives you the same result because on one hand, the 48 power law says everybody's it's evil, and you use that to manipulate them to do whatever
Right.
you want. Same thing is on the other side is people have their own problems, and they are just trying to get through the day, so they're really nice underneath all that, I guess stressed for persona, it's a
Right.
good person in there. So on the angel side, as long as you appeal to them on a personal level, you can get them to do the same thing. You influence and influence people, or you can manipulate people. I mean, it's the same thing.
Right.
I mean, it's just two different words, but that's
It
the
is.
same thing.
It's like Humankind versus the book Humankind versus other books that skew it toward, humanity is negative. I mean, who's right? Who knows, right? But like either way, it's the same principles. It's understanding your elephant and understanding how to communicate with other people's elephants, to influence their elephant actions. So that said, actually, that's a good segue
I mean,
into
thinking about like the carrot and stick. It
right.
gets you to do the same thing, but it's a different method, a different approach to getting whatever it is to move forward. You dangle a little stick or you whip them, so it gives you the same result. But one is the angel and the other one is the devil. It just depends on perspective that you have on your outlook onto the world.
Agreed. So my reflection that this book made me think of was, the reflection title is "You'll never, win," in quotes, an argument. So what do I mean by that? If anybody knows me, it's, I love to debate. Like it is like, I mean, like this is it's embedded
Ding.
in me. Yeah, you got a beaver mark. My whole life, man, I've always been. It's just innate in me. I don't know what it is. Like you give me any topic, I
Yo,
will.
what do you mean?
Well, like my whole life, like my whole family and friends, they're always like, "You're gonna be the best lawyer someday." And that's honestly why when I went to college initially, I went with the intention of, I took business management as my major because I wanted to be like a corporate lawyer. So I was like, I don't want just that stupid poli sci degree or whatever. I was like, I'll go get my business degree, and then then I can go to law school and I'll be a little bit more well rounded than just having a poli sci degree or something like that. So that was why I actually went into business school initially, and I wanted to go into corporate law afterwards because my whole life everybody was like, "You're gonna be the most amazing lawyer," and I was like, "Yeah, whatever. I do love to argue. Yeah, let's do this." You see all the courtroom battles and whatever, and I was like, "Yeah, that's gonna be me someday. I'm gonna be an attorney, yelling at people and arguing for a living." And then I went to go study my sophomore year. I went to go shadow my aunt, who's an estate lawyer, one summer, and
Mm.
she showed me what she does every day, and I was like, "This." I was like, "All you do is look at contracts all day long and cross shit out and study law books." I'm like, when do you get to just get in there and mix it up and debate with somebody
It's
and do
only
this?
on TV.
I was like, I don't want to do this. I'm like, I'm the least detail-oriented person. Like, this would be an epic disaster, you know? I was
Yeah.
like, I don't want anything to do with this. So that was when I made the decision. I don't want to be a lawyer, and ended up sticking with my plans for the future.
Yeah,
So,
I think that's a good because 90% of all lawyers, they don't even go to the courtroom.
mhm,
You just file some paperwork, some motion. Okay, you're done.
right.
It's easy money, but it's hard work for people who hate it. And I can't even. I mean, for me, is I would not stand 1 hour of it just because. I mean,
It's awful.
it's dredging just to think about it.
It is. It's awful sounding. I
Hakuna
digress.
Matata, man.
So,
Hakuna Matata.
so my like whole life, like debating has just been like, and arguing is just ingrained in me. Like I will step in the arena with anybody, anywhere, whether you're a stranger, whether you're my best friend, whether you're an enemy, whether you're, my parents, whether you're my children, like my wife, I don't really care. Like we argue a lot. Like, and I mean, this is just, it's all fun for me. It's never bad. Like, I never, ever get angry at somebody else in an argument, just because for me, I love problem solving. I love seeing different angles. I love trying to, expand somebody's paradigm or expand my own paradigm, and I just love arguing all the different angles of it. And it's like energy for me. It's like lifeblood for me, but most people are not like that. Most people hate to argue. So you can tell, like, like ask any of my like best friends, they'll be like, oh God, here we go. Chris is here he goes. Like, when's this gonna be over?
He's beavering again.
But here's what I've learned though, over a lifetime of arguing with people, and this is why I bring up this context to get to my answer, is I have never, ever, in hundreds, maybe even thousands of arguments that I've conducted with friends, strangers, colleagues, family members, whatever, never, ever have won an argument, ever. And I will 100% stand by that. If you went to go ask any single person, did that conversation with Chris change the trajectory of what you did next? The answer will be no.
It probably make it worse.
It probably made it worse. Yeah, you're right. It probably made them, turtle a little bit and entrench further into their already preconceived paradigms, of like, man, like this guy, I don't want to, this is stupid. I do agree with Democrats. You know what? I'm a Democrat. And I like it.
Vote Republican.
Right. That's what it took me a long time to learn this, but now I only argue just for fun. It's straight up just fun. One of my core values is play. So like when I argue, it's like play for me, and I'm just playing around because I'm not trying to win an argument or whatever. But for a long time, I did try to win the argument, And the truth of the matter is why is that? We've talked about this, many times before in the past. This is about paradigms in people's life, right? Like they come into it. It takes a lifetime to build up your paradigms you see every single day, a lifetime of tiny little compounding events over and over and over again to get to the point in time where you are having this conversation with me today, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or whatever it may be, or you're a Christian or you're a Jew or whatever the belief system is that you hold so near and dear to your heart that you're being challenged on. It has been a slow compounding effect probably since childhood, since your birth, whether you grew up in a household that, did certain cultural activities or behave certain ways or discuss things a certain way or whatever it may be. And then all of a sudden a little beaver walks along like me and is like, wants to challenge your belief system just for fun for me. But you're like, how do you think you're going to change it? You're going to change 30 years of a lifetime of me coming to this decision today, whether I chose it or didn't? I don't think so. That's not how it works, right? That is not how you win friends and influence people. So how do you win friends, right? Like you win friends by doing what Dale Carnegie teaches you. And it's, if you have a few minutes with somebody, spend all that time just learning and listening to them about the stories of how they came to be where they came to be today. Just learn what they like, learn what they don't like, why they believe what they believe, what ideas matter to them, what are their values. Like, just ask them a lot of questions and make them feel like they're being heard. And like, that's all that anybody really wants. If you want to do that, you'll win a lot of friends. Don't argue with people if you're trying to win friends. Like, that is the exact opposite of what you will do. And you'll never win the argument either. So that's point number one. Point number two, though, is around influencing people. So that's a totally different situation, right? So influencing, that requires a slow shift in paradigms and belief systems over time, right? So if you want to influence somebody, that takes a true willingness of both parties wanting to get together into a journey, to enter together, to see where they go together. So they need to be able to feel what you feel. They need to be able to see what you see, experience what you experience. Like, you can't just influence somebody by words or a 30-minute conversation. Influencing takes time. It takes a lot of retraining of your elephant. It takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of cooperation of mutually wanting to engage in this journey together between multiple parties, I guess, in order to truly influence them. those types of relationships, in my opinion, are incredibly rare. You and I, we influence each other a lot. But we've spent 3 years talking to each other every single night to influence each other. I mean, it wasn't like we've been just building this belief system overnight and now we've come to this conclusion, right? So for me, like the thing that it made me think about with this whole book is like the difference between influencing and trying to win friends and arguing and all that other stuff. And then I think of Amelia, like it always comes back to me, Amelia, talk about a lifelong journey with somebody, like, she's influenced me more than anybody that I've ever been influenced by for my entire life. And she continues to influence me to this day. Her influence on me has had a dramatic change in my life. So if you want to know the best influence I've ever met, it's my daughter. She's incredible. I don't even know how she does it, but she did it and she still does it every single day. And we're on this journey together. It's pretty amazing. And I'm glad that you're on this journey with us as well. So that's the reflection for the day. The question is, who's been your biggest influences that have shaped your world?
Okay, well, let me start with the reflection title. So you say you'll never win an argument. I think you're just stating a fact, right? And so I like to change it so that we kind of take a lesson from this. You should never win an argument.
Oh, good one. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because take that, and you are talking about paradigm. This is a paradigm you should take because you're talking about if you want things to go your way, you should never, quote unquote, win an argument. When you win, you get nothing. You basically get a pushback. If you don't win, they basically, okay, this guy, they're going to relax and they're going to say, okay, let me consider it. Even if they don't consider yourself, they probably going to give you more room to be flexible with a lot of things. So you should never win an argument. And
I agree.
And so when you say quote win, right? That's literally like winning an argument. But the derivative of not winning an argument, you actually physically, realistically, tangibly win an argument. You think about it.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? You think about it. If you say, well, if I don't win an argument, I get that person to relax, that person to not be defensive and take a considerations into what I have to say. That's a win already. And if the consideration was agreeable and they agree to do whatever you want them to do in the first place, that's actually a win. I mean, a big win without the quote. Right? So
Agreed.
for me, the lessons for 152, you should never win an argument because actually, like, quote unquote, win the argument gets you negative benefits.
Agreed.
And this is, to me, is based on this book itself. It's how to win friends and influence. Because if you are going to win friends, you have to influence them first. And you can't win friends unless they are influenced by you.
Well, winning friends and influencing people are totally different, in my opinion.
Explain how that works, though.
Because, like, let's just say that you come across somebody at a party that you're only going to meet for 30 minutes, and
then
you're just learning about
it. They're not your friend because your friend is like there's somebody trust you. Because for me, Chris, if you're my friends, right, and you say, hey, True, check out this book, I believe you. I'm influenced by you. Otherwise, I wouldn't give a shit about what you said. I'm sorry, but I don't know who you are. But because I know you and you're my friends, you have more influence on me. That's why you're my friends. Otherwise, you're not my friend. You think about it. You have to influence people before they become your friend. Because if you can't garner my respect, how would I be your friends? And if I don't care what book you say, I say I'm gonna check it out because I am truly influenced by you. I don't have a second guess about, okay, is he for real or anything like that. If you say, hey, buy this cup, I'll go buy the cup. That's the point. This is why in sales, word of mouth is so effective. You're talking about 90%, right? Am I right?
Yeah, no, you're right.
But it's much higher than the other, right? So when somebody is getting a recommendation from somebody they know, it is very, very, I guess, the conversion is really high just because it works. And the only reason why it works is because whoever recommends them have a high status in their regards. That's a friend. Because you can't really get there, right? Because at first you and I met, right? You can influence me a few things, but I'm not your friends yet. Think about it, let's say like first week we got together, right? You show me some stuff. Yeah, you influence me. Yeah, I think I agree. But you're not my friends until I really get to know you. So you have to get to a high level of influences so that person become friends. So that's why, like I say, unless I'm missing.
That's an interesting take on it because I hear where you're coming from, and I could see it's kind of really how you define friend, right? Like, like
Well,
if
like I
I
said, definition is important, and everybody has their own definitions of
right,
what.
being impeccable with your words, right? What is a friend, you know? Like, I mean, for me, a friend is, I mean, I think everybody's a friend, to be honest with you. Like, as long as they're not somebody that's actively trying to like hurt me or something like that. Like, I feel like,
Well, to me, that's depends on how you find things as well. Because if you say everybody's my friends, then you're my friends too, Chris. So you're not that special. I mean, it's all relative.
yeah,
It's
yeah. I
relative,
mean,
right? Because thing for me,
this is
I have probably like less than this number of friends
right.
in my entire life. So I mean, these guys are special. You can call me at any time, anywhere, and I'll go get you from jail. Right?
Yeah,
That's my friend.
I don't know that I would call that a friend. Like that's a deep connection. That's a meaningful connection is what that is. That's a meaningful relationship. Like I think there could be a difference in level of friendships where one's a meaningful relationship and one's just a friend, like somebody that you can get along with, you agree you can have a good conversation with or whatever, and like, but maybe you don't want to go engage into a meaningful relationship with them. You know what I mean? Like if you just want to win a
It all
friend,
boils down to how you define the word friends. I
right?
mean, people use it loosely. I have 1,000 friends, and I say I have 5 friends. It's how you define it, range.
I agree. I guess what my sentiment is when I'm saying you got to win the friend first before you can influence them would be the friend in the most basic level, somebody that you can at least get along with and can have a conversation with. Like that's winning a friend for me.
But the thing
But
is, if I say those people, right? Those people over there, those friends over there, which one do you think is more personal to you or to me? Those people over there on the left, those friends over there on the right.
same
No,
friends. I
I'm
mean,
I'm just telling you right now. I have those people on the left and those people on my right. Those friends on my right. From what I just said, those two compare in the same context in the same room. One in the left corner, one in the right corner. Which group does it sound like I'm more personal to
yeah,
when
your
you
friend,
call
the friends. I mean,
exactly? So that's my point. When you have people
yeah,
and
no, I agree.
friends next to each other, that means
Right.
that the friends is more personal connections. This is why it says when you win friends and you influence people, it's in the same sentence. Therefore, the influence people, you have to influence the people that you don't have less connection with until you get to the level of friend. But you're flipping it and you say, hey, I want to win friends so I can influence friends.
But if I want to influence somebody that I don't even want to be friends with, like
No, you can influence people, but you don't have to be their friends to be influenced. I mean, if you are Elon Musk and you're Trump, right?
oh
There's
yeah, no,
people
he
who
can
don't,
influence people.
right? They influence a lot of people, but he has no idea who influence, right?
Good
So
point.
to me, influence people is not have to be friends, but you have to have
Good,
enough
that's a good point.
influence for me to be friends with you.
That's a good point.
I'm just pointing out how my mind thinks. My mind thinks, say, you put two words together, one's is people and one's friends, right? Friends is more personable, more connected to than people. When you say influence, then influence has to go from the bottom first to get to a certain level before it tip over to becoming friends. So that's how
I
I'm
don't know that I need to
logically
be
stacking it.
I don't know that I need to be influenced by somebody to be a friend with theirs. Like I could immediately meet somebody at a wedding I've never heard before, and
But
I could become friends with
you
them if
just
it.
said that you have to win friends before you can influence them. I said that's
No, no, no. I agree with you on that. I'm saying that you could definitely influence people. Like hell, look. I mean, you're right. Donald Trump, Elon Musk, like those are great examples. There's a lot of writers. Anne Frank, like we were talking about her last week. I mean, she influenced me. I've never even met her. She's died
yeah,
80
yeah.
years ago. So you can influence people in a lot of different ways. I agree that you could lay the groundwork, but either way, influence is a process. You need to spend an immersive amount of time with somebody and who they are in order to, and they will guide your journey, right? You have to both agree to be influenced. Like the influencer like has to have stuff out there that he wants to or she wants to influence with.
They influence you by just being themselves.
True.
Go in China.
That's not true at all. I mean, I think you can unintentionally there could be an
Let's
arc,
say
a sphere around it where maybe the outer ring of something where you're unintentionally are influencing people, but that doesn't mean that he didn't the goal wasn't to influence people in China or something like that.
I don't think we want to go dive deep into in terms of say, hey, I purposely want to live this way so I can influence somebody. See, I don't give a crap what people can say. Hey,
I
that guy, true, that guy's an idiot. He influenced me. I'm mad. I'm pissed. It's like I don't really fucking care, right? So
that's a good
that's
point.
my point. Is I'm saying, oh, I'm gonna be this obnoxious true so that I can influence somebody. That's just silly,
Well,
right?
because we believe in making sure that you're always focused on doing things for yourself and
But
driving
you
your
can
own ship,
influence people, but
first.
not don't live a way to be influenced and want to be. So if I want to influence somebody, it's like, let's say I want to influence somebody. It's like either I like that person and I want to become their friends and I want to do it. But if I don't want to be their friends, I don't care how influence, whether negative or positively.
Right.
For example, so you have some pretty girl, right? They influence somebody. A lot of guys influence a lot of guys, right? Maybe they say, hey, I don't really care. They don't go out there to say, well, I'm going to decide that I want to make sure that these guys like me or the girls like me or they hate me or whatever. You just live your way, the way that you want to live. And then whether or not that, however you live, is going to be taken in as a good, positive thing or negative thing, it's up to that person.
So are you saying you don't want to influence people unless they're your friend?
No, I'm just saying influencing is more general because you can influence people. And if you are influenced by a lot of whatever you do, there's gonna be a lot more influence. So influence is so the minuscule level that anybody can influence anyone. But the thing is, you don't become friends if you have a small amount of influence. You only become friends when you have more influence, right? And the other person reciprocate the influence.
That's
So
I
to
think you should
me,
call that meaningful relationship. You only become a meaningful relationship when influence is
but
reciprocal.
it's still the granular piece, right?
Yeah,
Where
but at that point in time, influence has been chosen to engage on both parties in a meaningful relationship. Like, because you tell, like you said, Donald Trump's a great example. You can influence a lot of people, but it's not a meaningful relationship for him. However, the people that,
but we're talking about friends here.
so the combo of the two together, a friend plus an influencing, is a meaningful relationship.
But the point is when friends influence people, there's only a binary.
Care about meaningful relationships, right? So, like,
But we're talking about the context of the book itself, right? Because there's only
yeah,
two level. You have the people, you have friends. And that's how I'm stacking it. Yes, you can interject whatever you want. You can say, hey, there's black and white. No, there's gray, and there's like darker gray, and there's lighter gray, and there's a slightly lighter gray, and there's light darker gray, and there's like billions of shades in between. Yeah, you can always say that. And that's the point of art. An argument is like there's never ever gonna be, okay, is absolutely right or you're absolutely wrong. It's always gonna say, well, yeah, there could be something between. You can't say and there's 1 and 0 or there's 0 point, 0.01, 0.00001 or whatever. There's so many in between. There's actually infinite, whether you're talking about the numbers or the colors, right?
right. I agree with you. We're only talking about the book and the context of the book. I'm saying, as we morph this conversation into what we care about, maybe how we define a meaningful relationship is a mutually influencing relationship of friends.
And that's a different topic.
I know it's a different topic. I'm working through a thought in my head with you in real time here, like we always do, right? So, no, I'm just saying that's a good point because you're right. You can either just, and what I'm coming at it is saying, I think you can just win a friend or you can influence somebody. But when you influence your friends, that's a meaningful relationship.
Right. I think the book title should be Influence People and Win Friends. But it doesn't flow as when friends influence people, right? But I don't know, maybe the way that I think is influence gotta go first before you can win them.
I mean, I think it could be both ways.
Because
You
the
could
thing is,
start
for
with
me, to
influence and choose
me, is
friend.
you cannot, regardless of, in my definition anyway,
I'm not a friend of Darren Hardy.
in truth world, right? If you don't influence me in any way, possibly, I would not be your friend. Because Darren Hardy
that is not how
isn't
my brain works.
Darren Hardy isn't your friend, but he influenced you.
Yes.
Exactly.
And someday
So
he could become a friend.
but only when his influence become greater and personable to you.
No, his influence is pretty great and personal to me.
So
But our
that's the
relationship
thing
is not
that's
a
what
friend.
my point is. Influence has to come first. If Darren Hardy one of these days come into Indy and meet you, you could become friends instantly because you already have the influence.
This is where we disagree because I have a lot of friends that do not influence me at all in any way, shape, or form. As a matter of fact, there's people that I keep at arm's length because I don't want them to influence me.
I
Like, where
mean,
I'm like, look, you're not going to influence me.
They influence you because you keep them at arm's length.
I'm talking about their lifestyles, their values.
Stay avoiding them. They influence you in a negative way. You don't want to be with them. You are influenced by them. Basically, move away. That's the influence.
But that doesn't mean they're not a friend, though.
But my point is, they have influence on you already when you're a friend. Negatively or positively, that's up to you to decide whether you want to call them a friend. But they already has an influence on you. You cannot have a bond unless there is some kind of a tangible connection, like two atoms, right? You don't call it a molecule unless you have a bond together, right? And to me, that's the fundamental, the basic building blocks of having friends. Is there is a connection. The connection means that, hey, I am possibly say, hey, I agree with you or I disagree with you. That's influence. Whether you attract or you repel them, it's still an influence, because when I'm coming to the circle, you move away. Well, because I'm there, that's why you move away. Because if I would have been there, you would have stayed. Therefore, there's no influence. And action is acted upon an object, right? Whether it's negatively or positively, it's still acting on it. That's influence.
I just chuckled in my own head a few minutes ago because we're arguing and I'm loving it. Like, it's fun because this whole entire conversation is neither one of us are going to win at the end of it. So, and that's okay.
Are we trying to win?
No, we're not. I was laughing about the irony of this conversation of like, we're just having fun with this, obviously, because that's one of our core values of Club is to play. But it's funny that we're in a debate.
I didn't know we're trying to win.
Here's the thing: is when you argue with somebody that you have a meaningful relationship with, I don't think there's any. I think it's always a net zero like gain of an argument, right? Because I appreciate your views on things, and I assume you appreciate mine.
I'm not. I'm just trying to understand.
No, I know.
Telling you this is what I think. What am I missing? What I'm
No,
tell me.
I like
Tell
your
me
thought
what I'm
process.
missing. This is how I'm thinking right now. This is a baseline. I'm missing something. I put this together. This is how I see it.
You're missing something in one regard.
And that's fine.
You're missing a very big paradigm that I have clearly that you do not have in this regard. I can go meet just a random person at CVS and have a 20-minute conversation with them, and I could leave that conversation saying they're my friend. They are not going to influence me. They are not going to be a part of my life. I may never see them ever again, but that doesn't mean they're not a friend to me.
To me, that's the thing is, you have to be influenced regardless, because influence takes so insignificant amount. Whether you say, yeah, I spend 5 minutes talking, they influence you to stop and talk for 5 minutes. Regardless of that, you think this influence or not, you had been influenced. So you would have been spending 5 minutes out doing something else. That's my logic that I'm trying to figure out is, what does it mean by influence and what does it mean by not influence? A piece of pollen flies into my vicinity and I react allergic to it. It influenced me. I'm reacting to something because of its presence. To me, that's the influence.
Actually, I know what you're saying. I mean, it's an interesting thought.
And you can gauge how much influence that becomes a friend.
Well, I think the only thing that I can 100% agree to in this conversation would be the level of a meaningful relationship needs to be mutually influencing and mutual friendship. It has to be equal levels of friendship and influencing, in my opinion, for it to be considered a meaningful relationship.
Well, I think it has to be a strong enough bond to become a friend, because I can pass by with somebody and I can help somebody, but doesn't mean that I'm their friends. I mean, I never see that person again. So what's the point of calling somebody friends if you never see them again? I would do that, right? And I influence them. I'm helping them now. They become less agitated, less stressful, because I was able to show them, an answer or whatever that I knew of, right? I did influence them, but they're not my friends because, and it's not like they give me back anything or I give them enough things to say, hey, truth's a lifesaver. You are my savior. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna spend my whole entire life to find a way to repay you. It's not like I've done something so grand that they have to do that. They say, well, thank you. I think that's a nice guy. That's it, right? But to me, if they go on beyond the first event of meeting, well, I don't think they're a friend. They're a good person. Like, hey, let's meet up with Chris. Let's meet up with, Cole or David or whatever, because we can go back and connect with them again. And to me, that's how I define it. But if I will cross by with somebody, I can be nice to them. I can influence them. I can give them money, or I can be mean to them, right? Ruin the whole day. That's influence them. But that doesn't mean that they can call me friends. So influence can be both negative and positive, but friends is only when you have positive influence. So that's what I'm saying is, the more granular piece is the influence piece, and it has to stack up to a certain level where it tips to become the next level, which is friends. And that level is personal to everyone. Somebody has a high level and some people have a low requirement level. Each individual is different.
Well, thank you for sharing. And I feel like it's an interesting perspective. And I feel like I've heard that, I learned it, and it helped me to better understand this particular thought. So thank you for sharing. That was helpful. I don't have any more thoughts on this particular one. Any final thoughts from you?
Should not care about influence people so much that it takes away from your, I guess when we type be authentic, like be your, because this is thing is there's always pros and cons in every single concept or lessons or rules, right? Because if you say, well, I want to fit in and I want to pretend to be someone else so that maybe he expects me to be this person or versus that person. To
Right.
me, when friends influence people has to be from within your authentic self versus somebody else expectations of you. So caution on that, if that makes sense.
I totally agree. I think the number one friend and influencer that you should have, the person you're trying to influence in your life, is yourself. If you're not friends with yourself and you can't influence, and what you're doing isn't influencing yourself, I mean, you are the biggest influencer of yourself, without a doubt. If you're not influencing yourself and you don't consider your own self a friend, then start there first. Almost every lesson that we have always goes back to, like, you can't do anything unless you can do it for yourself. Like, if you can't either do it
Yes.
yourself or do it for yourself, then you can't do it for other people, right?
First
So if
thing
I
first,
can't do
right? The first thing, first principle is your personal self that you want to be. Be that first before every other lesson can come into play, because the foundation has to
always,
be solid. So your foundation say who I am and who I want to be. Be that person first before you do any of these things, and don't compromise on being yourself so the other thing can fit in, right? If the other thing
yeah,
fits with whatever you want to be, then let it fit. If it doesn't fit, use the next lesson.
just be a beaver, and
And
then
damn.
that, and damn, and then
Ding.
other people will see it and they'll go, damn, that beaver can dam. I like that. Let me learn more about that beaver. And then you have
Yes.
friends that care about damming as well, and then
And
all of a sudden you guys are, like, you're doing what you got to do. So there you go. All right, well, thanks for joining us tonight. And the question we can leave for everyone is, who have been your biggest influences that have shaped your world? Something to think about. And are they a friend? Is a question now that you could also ask as well. But thanks for joining, and we will see you tomorrow night.
see you mañana. Good night.